Hello, everyone. We are just getting started here. I'm waiting for Darren and or Eric to join me, so I'll be with you in just a moment. I think, Darren is just coming on now. All right, let me get him in here. Ooh, it's dark for a second there. Hey there. Let's see if
Hey
you're.
there.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, hello.
Just in time.
Oh, excellent. I did try to join about 5 or 10 minutes ago, but nobody was answering. The call handling service was left a little bit to be desired, should we say?
Throw Mike under the truck. All right, I get it. That's all right. No,
Oh
I was
dear.
not. You're right. It was about 5 minutes before I joined into the Zoom meeting. But I think we'll go with your idea, right?
Okay. Is that because we haven't got any other ideas?
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. But also, I went through the trouble of taking notes. So,
Well, that's excellent
yeah.
because I've done absolutely no notes whatsoever. So well done, Mike.
Oh, this is interesting. Now, here, let's switch over here. We got a comment
Oh,
from our friend Brian. Look at that. Hello, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day and happy birthday, Arizona.
oh, interesting.
Happy
Okay,
birthday, Arizona. I wasn't aware of that.
excellent. I like
Yeah.
the sound of that.
And, of course, happy Valentine's Day to you, Darren.
And indeed to you, Mike. Indeed,
And to Brian. Happy Valentine's Day,
and to
Brian.
Brian, and to our lovely audience as well. Yes, indeed.
Yes, everyone joining us today and listening after the fact.
Absolutely.
So, here's the essential question. Do you have an essential app?
Oh God, I always
I,
forget to do the
I,
essential apps, don't
I
I? No,
pretty
I
much,
have no essential app.
I pretty much begged you to come up with one
Oh
this week.
no.
No,
Oh
no, no.
no. Oh,
So, because I knew you would not come through with an essential app, Darren.
oh dear.
And
Guilty as charged.
remember, this is live. I'm putting this message out to
Wow.
the. No, I'm teasing you, of course.
Go for it. Go for it. No worries.
It is live though. Uh, but
Yes.
I did bring an essential app to the table. I've not had the opportunity to play with it that much, but it is a very interesting one. So we'll
Well done. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see if that.
Well, remember, I came unstuck a little bit when I did the Essential app and I hadn't tested it yet. And it was like, not entirely the best choice.
well, well, the one I have is quite simple. So I don't know. Maybe
Oh, it
it'll
can't go
just
wrong then. Okay.
yeah, can't go wrong. It's fairly simple. I don't know why
Cool.
I seem to be. I pull down my volume
Yeah,
levels a little bit here.
I got distracted by Zoom just a minute ago. It was advertising new AI features to me as I logged in, so I had to click through a couple of things.
Well, you know,
What can you say? Yeah, every app seems to be doing the same thing now. Advertise. Oh, you'll definitely want to explore these AI features we've given you now, won't you? No, no, maybe not. Okay.
the one and only thing I have, I begged you for an essential app. The one and only thing I beg AI to come through with for me is to make the job of creating chapter markers for these live streams easier.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
pick out the salient points throughout the episode, detail them out, give me what time it happened during the live stream, and that would solve a heck of a lot of
Well,
time for me. I mean,
yeah,
that would
exactly.
save or
Quite a lot of
solve. It would
time
save a ton of
saved.
time.
Yeah. I should think you should be able to do that
Yeah.
already with
Well,
various AI abilities.
You would think that Gemini, of all the AIs, if any AI were going to be able to dig into a YouTube video and pull out the key talking points and tell you what time they occurred, it would be Gemini, right? No.
Well, you
Well,
think so because Google owns them, yes, and
yeah.
it also owns YouTube, so you would expect there to be some tight integration there.
And I'm so happy to hear
But
that
no.
Apple has picked Gemini as its partner for AI, because Gemini, in my opinion, only rivals our S lady friend for the sheer depths of stupidity it can reach. It can't even answer basic support questions about Google's own services. So
Ah, well, that's too close to home. That's a bit too close to home.
when it can't do that, how on earth can we expect it to answer generic S lady questions on a
Well,
daily
that's it.
basis?
You have to ask Copilot about Google, and you have to ask
Right, right,
Google about Copilot.
right. Exactly, exactly.
And then they'll give you some proper answers.
And then maybe you'll get some
Maybe,
proper answers.
maybe.
All right. Okay, so back to the topic at hand here. So we'll go with the topic you came up with, and I really don't have a whole heck of a lot on it. I did send you an email about it that said basically I'm
You
going to
did
let you
indeed, yes, and I even read it, so that's really quite
I'm
good.
I'm going to let you run with it. This is Darren's episode.
Okay, well, it's
But
probably not going to be a huge amount, so it's possibly just half a show to fill in with the rest of the another half of a show as well. So
perfect. That's that. We need to
it's
take it
not a
easy.
not going to be a huge rant or anything. No.
We need to take it easy on Valentine's Day. It's a holiday.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
it. Yeah, it's a special day.
it's a
Absolutely,
special
yes.
day. We all need to get back to our friends and family to celebrate, and the parties, the Valentine's Day parties that we all go to.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
the crackers,
The heart shape. Yeah, well, yeah, you could do crackers. Yeah,
crackers
yeah.
and
Don't
and
see why not.
paper
Yeah, yeah.
crowns. Yeah,
Yeah, paper crowns. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, you could have a heart-shaped cake or something like that.
Oh, and I have had that in the past. We do have
Oh, well, there you
heart
go.
shaped. It's pretty much our only cake pans that we have these days. Is we have heart shaped cake
Oh,
pans.
oh, homemade cake. Oh, well, there you go. That's
So
pushing the boat
yeah,
out. That's pretty good.
or various pizza places allow you to order a heart shaped pizza. Maybe I'll stick a frozen
Ah,
pizza in the oven and cut it into a heart shape.
well, you could use the cake tin to cut it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
work.
yeah. Oh, and I do have. Okay, so I used to do this in the past when there would be a special holiday or some such thing. I would create a special thumbnail for Mac Guys Only, right? Well,
Oh, nice.
I'll just go ahead and pre-warn everybody that here is the thumbnail for this week's episode. Let me. I'm just going to drop it right here in the middle of the.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
See?
I just realized what there's a custom in uh oh, what's the word? When you not embellish, when you um do a sort of like a cutout. Yeah, yeah, it's a really good. Yeah, I like that. Very
It's
clever.
it's a heart shaped
Perfect. I
candy.
like it. Excellent.
Yeah. So this is what I've used in the past, and I'll use it again this year for. So if
Excellent.
anybody sees this come through their feed, it really is me. It's not some sort of weird spam or anything like that.
It's
Okay.
even got the logo at the bottom there, Escape Cast. There you go. That's how you know it's for real. There you go.
Let's see. The actual one I normally use. Where is it here? I updated it. I updated it last year with a little refreshed Escapecast logo. Let's see. Here we are. This is. Oop. Ah, it's too big.
Oh, that's quite big.
There we go. Bring it down here. Oh, make it a little
Oh, there
smaller
we go.
yet.
Right.
Gotta make it a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so I have a little refreshed, a little simplified Escapecast logo in the corner there. See?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't have that black background anymore. So I may need to update the candy heart version of the logo with, or the thumbnail. Wait, no, cover art. That's the word I'm looking for. I may have to update the cover art with the. All right.
Perfect.
With all that important stuff out of the way, let's see. I did just get a text from Eric. Let me double check and make sure he is
Oh,
not
excellent.
planning
Oh, it'd be good if Eric is
join us.
going to join us. That'd be fabulous.
Okay. Okay, so he is not going to join us.
No.
However, he did give us his thoughts on the topic.
Good. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, excellent. At least we have something you can read out, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, fabulous.
I will take on the persona of Eric at some point, and we'll share his
Eric
thoughts.
personified, indeed. Yes, yes,
Eric
perfect.
personified. So let me get down to my notes here, and I'll add his comments in here. Boom. Okay.
Nice.
I see he's cheating a bit, but I won't share how he's cheating. Let's see.
I'm intrigued. Sounds good.
Okay. Let me just put a little note here. And then we'll get started.
Okie doke.
Okay, there we go. You can hear my big old Apple keyboard clunking in the background there. You notice
Yeah.
notice the wire.
Oh,
See?
a wire. Oh,
A wire.
how 1990s.
Well, here's the thing. I love this keyboard for one. This was the keyboard
Yes.
I used on my Mac Pro for ages and ages and ages. I love the keyboard. It's got a really good feel to it. But also, because it's connected to this podcasting station here. Yep. That's the Bluetooth version.
Indeed.
But
You
here's
can
why
see
I don't
this,
use the
the,
Bluetooth version. I have
Okay.
I have a Bluetooth version somewhere around here. But the deal is that I don't use it very frequently. This just sits here connected to this podcasting station for when we record the show, and I don't want to sit down and find that the batteries need to be charged. So I just stick with the tried and true.
Yeah. They don't last as long as the mouse does, I must admit. But
And it should be the
batteries-
opposite.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
strange, isn't it? Because the mouse involves more polling and more movement, so you'd expect the mouse to run down quicker, but it's the other way around. The keyboard, or my keyboard at least, although my this is an M1 iMac, so everything involved is 5 years old at least, if not more. So I think the batteries are doing remarkably well, really good. But my mouse is currently at 94%, which is quite impressive, and my keyboard is at 52%. But they've been going for at least a month or two, so it's fabulous. I don't think I've ever had a time whereby I've gone to use my Mac and the keyboard wasn't charged enough to use it. It's never happened. So
I
there
have.
you go. What?
I have.
Oh, you have. Oh, well done.
But, you know, what are you going to do? Uh,
Yeah.
the Oh, well, and the thing is, okay, I have, but it's on the Macs I use less frequently. So
Right.
this this Mac to my right, my Mac Studio, has one of the Logitech MX keyboards on it. Battery lasts for freaking ever, forever on that.
Mm.
The mice, they run down quite frequently. The Apple keyboards, I have one Apple keyboard, the short one. I have one short Apple keyboard in use with the Mac stock Mac Mini, and that's the one where I sit down to use it because it's not a Mac that gets used terribly frequently. I sit down to
Yeah,
use
yeah.
it, and it's either drained or really, really low, and I got to plug it in anyway. So here, I just prefer wired. The mouse is actually this is an old AA battery mouse.
Oh, it's the battery one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got mine's got a fancy blue tint to it. Well,
yeah,
there we are.
yeah. That's over. My pads up version when I have to charge it is over on the Mac Studio. But yeah, and then I do keep. Well, yeah, never mind. We'll get started with the show. We don't need to talk about mouse batteries and charging for 15 minutes. Although, Brian might find it entertaining.
You never know. Yeah, I did have problems with the battery version of the mouse before with contacts because it relies on a spring in
Yeah.
there to be
Yep.
to have good contact, and after a while, it started to get a little bit loosey goosey in there with the battery compartment. So I needed to do a bit of DIY on there.
Yeah.
But things are a lot easier and better with the. Oh, that's the point. I even bought the official um, Apple two battery charger adapter thingy with Apple batteries in there. That was, of course, they don't sell that anymore. So that, maybe I could sell that for a large amount of money now when that becomes a collector's item.
It,
I don't think very many people bought it, but it was
it
very good.
it will become a collector's item around the same time iPod socks do.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. So maybe about 15, 20, 30 years, something like that.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh gosh. Only if you have the original packaging though. Gotta have the original
Oh,
packaging.
oh, shucks. No, I don't think I have. Not for that.
Tell you. Goodness gracious. Um, all right. Oh, so yeah, I just have a little intro, and then we'll talk
Here
about
goes the
the
takeoff.
yeah, and then we'll just kind of take. I have a little intro, or I'll throw it over to you after that, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Cool.
I'll ask you about your issues with the one app you mentioned as well. That's another question
Yeah,
I have, and
cool.
then I don't really have any other notes other than that. So we'll see. And then one final thing before we get started here.
Okay.
We'll do this here.
Oh,
We are entertaining Brian.
excellent. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So he does like the Apple extended keyboard as well. Does use the Bluetooth versions like you, and even if the keyboard is dead, good point. You can charge it and use it at the same time, unlike the
Unlike
mouse.
the mouse.
Yeah.
It's true.
In truth, I don't know how they could have maintained the same sleek lines of the mouse
Yeah,
and
it
put a
wouldn't look
charging
the
port
same.
on it.
It would be ugly if you put the port at the front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and other brands do that,
And
and it,
other brands don't care what their stuff looks
it's
like. Yeah,
it's weird
so
looking. Yeah, so give it 10 minutes charge, do what you need to do, and then plug it in overnight, and you're ready to
absolutely.
go the next day. Yeah. Okay, we'll get started. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm not so sure about the title, but it is what it is. We've got the title.
Excellent.
All right. And we are wow, 23 minutes. 23 minutes in. Here we go. Ready, sir? As I'll ever be. In
Absolutely. So sorry, I muted myself so I didn't talk over you.
3, 2. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It's for Mac Guys Only, episode number 466 for February 14th, 2026. A sub with a side of apple. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Guys Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me to discuss the latest changes to Apple's software stack is Darren Davies. How are you doing, Darren?
Hello there, Mike. Excellent title, by the way. I'm really impressed with the title.
You do like that, huh? Okay. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. Happy Valentine's Day to you and all the listeners out there. We're recording this on February 14th. So, you know, what better way to celebrate than an episode of For Mac Guys Only?
To celebrate a Valentine's Day than to record an FMEO show. Exactly.
Jinx. Yep.
Oops.
And remember, we do normally record For Mac Guys Only live on YouTube the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And if you would like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEOTV. And if you are joining us live on YouTube, I'll be keeping an eye on that chat room right over here to my right. So if you have any questions or comments as we move along, be sure to drop them in there, and we will discuss them here on the show. Well, Darren, as it happens, or as we do, about 2 or 3 days before every episode that we record, we were trading emails this week, wondering what to chat about today. And
absolutely,
you said, let's touch on the changes to apps brought on by the Creator Studio Suite. Creator Studio, right? Creator Studio Suite.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Let's do that, Darren. And I think
specifically
you wanted to talk Pixelmator Pro, but there is a lot more to Apple's latest subscription service. And the big question on everyone's mind, or at least it's the question on my mind, and I'd like to talk about this in just a little bit, is it worth $129 a year? So let's start with that, Darren. Is the new Creator Studio suite of apps that now includes Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, Motion, Compressor, Mainstage, Pixelmator Pro, Pages, Numbers, Keynote, and Freeform, is it a good value for someone like you?
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
The part you said there, someone like me.
Right.
Potentially, yes, because I don't own very many of those products already, and rather than replacing certain apps with a subscription, which obviously doesn't suit everyone. Buying things outright and keeping them for a long time suits some people better than others, and vice versa. So some people would prefer a subscription model. So in my case, I'm not fully on board with going down the subscription route. Because I'm not a big user of some of those, some of the really pro packages, you know, like the Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro.
Right.
But they are exceptionally pro level pieces of software. You know, it's difficult nowadays almost to find a movie that wasn't made with Final Cut Pro, or an album that wasn't made with Logic Pro. So they're top of the line professional apps, and especially if you're learning, The student fee for said subscription is ridiculously low. And I'd say if you're studying media, or if you have a Mac and you have even a small interest in either of those two packages, the big ones, then absolutely dive right in and go for that subscription, because yeah, just the ability to learn on those pro level packages is immense.
Yeah.
So I'd say yes, go for it. But for me, no. It doesn't.
Yeah. Now, uh, do you? I know you're a big iPad Pro user. You've got your 13-inch iPad Pro, and that
Yes.
is one of your primary computing devices that you use on literally a daily basis. Uh, have you found yourself using the old subscription apps like Final Cut on that, or does the idea of being able to load for the first time Pixelmator Pro, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro to load and use those on the iPad Pro, is that something that might draw you towards the subscription?
Not really, no. I mean, when I go down the editing video route, I'm not at that level really. So I'm quite happy with the consumer side of Final Cut Pro, which is iMovie
iMovie.
effectively.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy to stick to the consumer side for that sort of thing, and you can get a lot done with iMovie, although it has its own little quirks, and which we may want to go into at some point on a future show. But there are interesting quirks that I've come across using iMovie on between the Mac and the iPad. So yeah, we might be able to jump in and cover that one day on a future show. But yeah, so I'm quite happy with the consumer level type of thing. But if you are someone who wants to get into professional editing or video editing, just being able to have that door open, because it is an expensive package, but buying it outright. So being able to dip in and out with a very flexible subscription can be quite useful for people, especially if it's their if they want to jump in and learn, even if they're doing something not to a hugely pro level. It still can be really useful, because if you dive into Final Cut Pro to edit your consumer level stuff, then you've already learnt the package in order for later on, when you may be faced with doing some work at a more pro level, and you've already got the knowledge, you've already used the system, you've already used the software, you're already becoming an expert, and being able to dip in and out of that subscription, I think is well worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I did take some notes on this because it is important to actually break down the price of these products and perhaps decide what of them are important to you and which of them are important to you and which are not.
Mm,
So why don't we talk about pricing for just a second here? Uh,
yeah.
List price, and I'm rounding down. I know some of these are $49.99 in the case of uh, pricing these out. Like Pixelmator Pro is $49.99. I just wrote down $49, so just bear with me if I'm leaving off the 99 cents here. But Final Cut Pro is $299 full
Yeah.
price, which you can still purchase. All of these you
Yes.
can still purchase as standalone products without diving into the subscription plan. So Final Cut Pro is $299. Logic Pro is $199. Compressor and Motion, which are companion apps to Final Cut Pro and Logic, Compressor is a companion to that as well, are $49 a piece. Pixelmator Pro, the version 3 of Pixelmator Pro, which is the current version available for standalone purchase, is $49. Main Stage is $29. Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, of course, are free. And Freeform is free.
Yeah.
So that actually breaks down to a total of $674 one time for all of the
Mm,
apps that come in the suite if you don't already own them. If you do already own them, well, then you really have to start questioning whether you need or want the suite. But that $674 translates to roughly 5.5 years of the Creator Studio subscription.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and in many cases, that subscription can be the preferred way to go. For example,
Yeah.
we'll talk about our friends at Microsoft and the Microsoft Office suite.
Microsoft
Office,
Office. Yes.
what do they call it now? Is it Microsoft
Uh,
365, Office 365?
it's yeah, yeah. It's well, Microsoft 365.
Yeah,
I wish they would call it Office because it's Office apps
which
there. So
they used to.
it,
Yeah,
yeah, they used to call it that, but now they just call it Microsoft 365, assuming that everything is Microsoft.
yeah. Well, that's a situation where when I broke down the cost of getting a standalone license, which is good for one computer, in Microsoft's case, when you
Exactly.
get a
Yes,
standalone
yes.
license to Office, good for one computer, good for updates to that version of the suite. When I compared the cost of doing that on the Macs that I need it on, including family Macs, against the cost of the subscription, especially over the cost, and I did figure it out over the period of 5 years. When I looked at the cost of the subscription over 5 years that allows me to share the subscription with family members versus buying outright for all the computers I wanted it on, and I didn't need it on all of them, but for the computers that I
Mm,
wanted it on, it just makes sense to get the subscription. Not only am I
yes, yes.
staying up to date, but I'm also spending a heck of a lot less money on it than I would if I bought everything outright. Um, Now, in the case of Creator Studio, 5.5 years of the Studio subscription, that's a pretty good value if you don't have any of the pro apps, but like you said, you want to start diving into them and learning how to use them, or even if you have used them in the past, actually putting them to use, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, you can the subscriptions are so versatile. Like being able, I mean, like all Apple subscriptions, you can easily turn them off and on
true,
very, very quickly just through any device.
yeah,
So you can even use them for project times. So say, for instance, you have 3 or 4 big projects a year. You could subscribe for that month or two to cover those projects and then not subscribe after that until you need it again. So it's very, very flexible from that point of view. So you could potentially save even more money if you're hiring the software for to produce some work for a particular project at the time you need it.
actually,
So I think
that's
that's quite impressive.
an incredibly good point. I hadn't even considered that when I was talking about the pricing. The $129 a year is actually a discount over the course of 12 months. If you pay up front, if you pay the $129 for the full year, you're effectively getting, what is it, a 2 month discount on it,
Mm, yeah.
because if you go month to month, it's a little bit more expensive at $12.99 a month. So yeah, you get a little discount, a little price break, just like you do with Apple TV. You get a little break if you buy a year at a time. And in the case of Apple TV, it's actually a substantial price break if you go that way. But so the idea that perhaps you subscribe on a project basis, that could indeed make it very worthwhile.
Absolutely. I mean, often you're charging by the project, so the project fee is partly paying for the software that you use to do that project with. So
Absolutely.
essentially, in a way, you could almost consider it free because it's you're being paid to do that project and fund the software you'd need to complete the project. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point. Now, there are tips and tricks to saving a little bit on the various applications if you buy standalone. And one of the things that I did actually was when I would be gifted an Apple gift card, I just
Ah,
collected
yes.
those until I got enough, and then I applied those towards the cost of Final Cut Pro. I wanted Final Cut Pro, Motion, and Compressor, and I did purchase the standalone versions of those many, many years ago. And I got a little bit of a discount because I accumulated gifts that were given to me. People know yeah, I'm an Apple fan, so let's get them an Apple gift card. And what am I
It's an
going to
easy
use it
gift.
on? I used it on software. So that's one way to save a little bit of money on it. But the other way to save
Yeah.
money, as you mentioned, and our friend Brian in the chat room mentioned, is the educational version. Now, the
Oh, yes.
educational version, if you buy standalone, now Apple did sell a bundle of these apps for $200. You could go to the education store and you could just buy it outright. Well, they pulled that. Once the subscription started, they said, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. But when you are purchasing a new Mac, and I did look to see if you could buy the
Ah,
bundle somewhere in the Apple Store, and I could not find it except for when you're buying a new Mac. When you buy a new Mac, you can opt to have that bundle added to the Mac or pre-installed on the Mac when they ship it,
mm,
and that is the same $200. So you get the Final Cut suite of apps and Logic Pro for $200 when you buy a new Mac. That's the educational discounted price on top of the discount price that you get on the computer itself. Or, as you pointed out, $30 a year for the subscription. Now, there are some issues with this that hadn't occurred to me, but Brian mentioned it in the chat room, and that is that the subscription rate, he's a little disappointed in it because it's only for college or university students and not for K through 12.
oh, okay, right.
Now, I've run into those kind of problems with educational pricing with Apple before myself. It's much easier to get educational pricing as a university, college student, staff, or a homeschooler than it is if you are an actual K through 12 student or educator. I think the same holds true K through 12 student or educator. It's the discounts are
Yes.
there, but the discount on this particular suite, and I know Brian's looked into this, so he knows, is not available to you if you're,
Wow.
if you're in that
Well,
side of the education realm.
that does seem like it should have been, and it's an oversight. Hopefully, that is true, and they revisit that. But yeah, it's a shame. Yeah,
As he says, there's a lot of opportunities missed for educators to encourage the use of these software applications in K through 12 classrooms. Okay,
absolutely. And
so
also, if you're encouraging the use of that software, you're also encouraging the purchase of Macs and iPads for the school.
absolutely, yep.
So it's in Apple's interest to do this.
I can see a classroom full of kindergartners not necessarily mucking about with Final Cut Pro and Logic, but this is K
Start
through
'em young.
12. Once you get into even junior high, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, high school
Yeah,
age,
yeah,
ninth, 10th, 11th,
yeah.
12th grade, once you start getting into those, there's a very good argument to be made for having entire
Very good.
courses based around
Yes,
these
yes,
applications,
indeed.
year-long
Especially since
courses.
you're actually using the same software that made the film you just watched, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
This isn't like low-end software. This is like the big leagues. This is you know uh, your big movies are made with this stuff.
So, but in general, for education, that's a great opportunity. Now, the one thing I would probably mention there is that this subscription, from all I can find for education, works very much like Adobe's educational subscription in that once you are no longer a student, you
Mm.
revert back to regular full pricing on it. And that's
Oh
what it
yes, yeah, yeah.
appears to be the
You'd
case
expect that. Yeah,
with the Apple subscription
I believe
versus
so.
versus if you buy a Mac and you have them pre-install the suite on there for $200 and you're a
Yes.
student at that time, you can continue to use those
And you keep
applications
it as long as, yeah,
long
exactly, yeah.
after
So
you
there is a
graduate.
way around
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah.
they are linked to your account. They're your applications, and you get to use them forever. So there is, in that case, an advantage to buying them outright if you are buying in the educational realm. Now, what about apps that the typical Mac user is going to use? I did ask you.
Well, this is where I have a bone to pick with Apple in a way. I can see where this subscription model for the Pro apps absolutely makes sense. For
Mhm.
people who want to go down that pro route and start learning these it's a fabulous idea, and the subscription model makes a lot of sense for that. But for me, where it doesn't make sense is for the apps that are free and included normally, and that has created a lot of confusion. So with the Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, and also Freeform, I believe. Those apps aren't normally set or described as at least pro level, and they are free. So now there's two of each of them, and confusing for a lot of people. Have been confused by what's going on there with these apps, and especially since there's a slight inconsistency as well about behavior. So yeah, I think it's confused a lot of people. I've seen people on Reddit confused as to what they should do, and which apps are no longer being upgraded, which apps are superseded. Do they need to pay for the subscription to carry on using the free apps that they've already used, or not, as the case may be? So it gets very confusing. So I think if they kept the Creative Studio at the professional level apps, that would have been great, and kept the other apps going as they normally would. But no, there's quite a lot of confusion going on between the amalgamation of the two.
Well, even folks who've used these software products for years and years and years, including myself, were a little confused by the
Absolutely.
fact that I'm not only being offered 14.5, but when I launch 14.5, it says, hey, this isn't going to be updated anymore. You got to go to 15. And so I
Yep.
download 15, and what happens? It doesn't replace 14.5, it sits alongside 14.5. So now I have both versions. And even more confusing, when you launch both and you compare them side by side, they are virtually identical. There is very
Well, they are at the
little,
moment.
at the moment, there is very little difference between the two, which
Yes.
leads to even more confusion. And the only time you
Yes.
actually see a difference is if you happen to be running them on Tahoe. If you are running them on Tahoe, then you get the liquid glass interface on Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. And if you are not, then you get the exact same interface, plus a couple extra buttons for the stuff that you can't run anyway, unless you have the subscription. So, yeah, it's a very confusing way to approach the release of these applications. And in truth, that method of getting people or pushing people towards the subscription, because let's be honest, that's what they're doing, that method of pushing people towards the subscription extends into the pro apps as well, because not only are there two different versions of Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, but there's two different versions of Final Cut, two different versions of Logic, two different versions of Pixelmator. Every single one of the apps has two versions of it. And if you search for them in the App Store, both come up. It's really a strange and bizarre way to handle it. And I kind of feel as if Apple could have done a much, much better job, uh, especially with the Pro apps, of integrating the two and doing what they did with Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, and just saying, hey, you want to do this? You want to do this thing, this AI driven thing? Then you need to have the subscription. Otherwise, enjoy. Just keep using the app like you always have. Versus saying, oh, well, yeah, you can download Logic Pro if you want to. Download it, install it. But you can't run it. Sorry, fooled you. You have to get the subscription if you want to run it. It's not a great look for Apple, and I think a
Yeah.
little bit more
I mean,
thought should have gone into it.
I must admit I did get confused myself, and I'm not usually confused with these sort of things. Um, Not to blow my own trumpet or anything, but the thing I got confused at, because it makes sense with what happened for the upgrades on the iPad to Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, because they are then a replacement for what you had on the iPad, which is fair enough. That makes sense.
Hmm.
On the Mac, of course, it isn't a replacement, so you've got your old versions, which you can choose to keep if you want to. Um, and also, but you would probably want to upgrade to the new versions, because those are the only ones that are going to keep on being upgraded over time, and there's no more updates to the previous version on the Mac.
Yeah.
So you can replace the old apps with the new apps for those three. But when it came to Pixelmator Pro, because I also own the original Pixelmator Pro, that's when things got a bit confusing, because I did think, I was under the impression, and I got this wrong, that that Pixelmator Pro would behave the same way. So that when you ran the old version of Pixelmator, it would say, "Oh, there's a subscription version of this which you can download, and it would let you use it and save for free, since you've already got the license to the existing version." But that's not true. So now when I run the new version of Pixelmator Pro, I can't use it at all. I can't make anything or save anything or do anything with it. So I'm just going to have to beat that one. So in one, it's just two different approaches. So the approach with Pages, Numbers, and Keynote is one way to get one avenue to go down, and the approach with Pixelmator Pro is a completely different avenue, and the behavior doesn't seem to match up with what you were expecting, or not at least what I was expecting. I'm okay with how it works with Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, although I would have preferred the Creative Studio suite to have only been for the pro level apps, and for the iWork apps essentially to be left out of the equation. That would
Hmm.
have made more sense to me.
I think that makes a lot more sense, and it probably is the better way that Apple should go. The other thing that they need to do is uh, be much clearer within the application what is a subscription feature. It is not new to do something like that. It's something many application authors have done for years. Just put a little lock next to it. Put some sort of indicator next to the feature that the person is about to launch to indicate that if you want to do this, you're going to have to subscribe. Versus throwing them down that path of, this sounds great, I would really like to do this thing. And then you click that thing and it says, oh, can't do it. Fooled you, like I said before.
They kind of have done that in a way slightly, but it's not immediately obvious. Every button that is something that would require a subscription is purple. So if you just know to avoid the purple buttons, then you don't have to pay or do anything, which isn't ideal, I must admit.
Not exactly ideal
No, exactly. I mean,
when there's no
you wouldn't
explanation
know.
for what the
The
purple
only,
means.
That's right. You only get an explanation, and only a very short one, when you click on it, and then it becomes reasonably obvious. Also, the other thing to mention is in the new versions of Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, you can customize the bars to remove the buttons that you won't be using
Hmm.
because they're part of the subscription. So you can turn it back into more of a clean interface, and remove the AI features if you want to, just by dragging them off the menu. So it's you can customize that. And I have heard people complain that there are adverts now in Pages, Numbers, and Keynotes, but I don't really class them as
Hmm.
adverts. So what they actually are a promotion, and they're quite small. So when you go to create a new file, for instance, it does have a little panel there to say that the templates you can use are only available through the subscription. But you can, in settings, you can change that to say start my list of templates in a different folder instead. So you can bypass that advert if you want. And the only other advert I've seen is in the Apple menu for the or no, not in the file menu, which is a small little purple icon saying "Learn more about the Creative Studio," and that's the only advert I've actually seen. So to me, it's a very minimal promotion rather than oh my God, there's advertising everywhere, which you'd think it was advertising everywhere to see some of the complaints on Reddit about this. So I think they're over egging their complaints a little bit there.
I was leaning in a bit here because I did fire up pages while you were talking about the purple buttons and talking about the promotions. For one, I've not seen the promotions, so I don't know if it's
Oh,
just
there
that
you go. They're not very obvious.
that I've trained myself to avoid seeing that sort of thing through years of using Google searching, but I have not seen any promotions. Uh, and then the purple icon, I'll admit I hadn't noticed the purple icons before, so I thought, let me fire up pages and take a look for these purple icons. And I'm clicking on every single menu, and I couldn't see purple icons until I leaned forward and realized it's a purple that's just purple enough to stand out a little bit, maybe kind of, from the other
Yeah.
darker icons in the menu. So when I lean
Well, that's
forward, I
what I
can
mean
see the
about it
purple
being
icons.
subtle. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's something to massively complain about. Like there's adverts all over the place. It's not true. There's just like, as you say, a very subtle indicator of something that you may want to look at, and most people won't even notice they're there.
But if I don't know the purple icon means it's the subscription feature, that's that's part of what my complaint is. I think Apple could do a better job of perhaps next to the words generate image, put in little tiny words premium feature or subscription feature or something like that.
Or
Some sort of
like you said,
indicator,
a padlock. Yeah, yeah,
a lock, something to indicate what that means.
yes.
Clarify it a little bit more than just
So that's the thing
giving me
that
a
I was
purple
just going to
icon.
mention really is that there is some confusion out there, and um, I think Apple has caused a little bit of confusion there, and they could uh, explain it a bit better, especially with maybe a particular a feature website, information about it, or a support website or something like that.
Yeah.
Because at the moment you don't seem to get a lot. The only thing I've noticed is when you click on learn more about Creative Suite, it launches the App Store and the page for Creative Suite, which has its own explanations. But obviously, it's not meant to be an explainer page. It's just a here's the products you can purchase page. So it's not really the place to put an explainer.
Yeah. I am glad you brought up the toolbar because that is something that I had down in my notes as well. Is one of the first things I did after launching the new pages was put it side by side with the old pages. You can launch both at the same time. You can use
Mm,
both at the same
mm,
time. So I put them side by side because I really was not a fan of the new pages minimal toolbar. Uh, Sometimes it's not terribly obvious what a particular icon means. So I always like to have the text on beneath the icon,
okay, okay,
like in
yeah,
the
yeah.
old pages. Well, the good news is you can do that. You can right
You
click
can do
and you
that.
can choose to either display the icon only or to display the icon and text. So that's step one. But then, as you pointed out, you can also click on Customize Toolbar, and not only can you drag things off of it that you don't want, but you can also
Mm,
rearrange them to the order that your muscle memory prefers. In other
yeah,
words,
absolutely.
I'm used to buttons being in a certain spot within pages, and Apple decided that they needed to be rearranged a little bit. So I put the two side by side, click Customize Toolbar, and then dragged and dropped and rearranged the icons in the toolbar to match the order that they were in the old pages. So, there's a lot of customization that you can make to these apps. But then there's also some interesting, um, how do I want to say this? There's some interesting things that Apple decided not to touch. There's some aspects of the new Tahoeized version of Pages that seem to harken back to the old design language that they used in the previous version of Pages. So it's almost like they're not quite done fine tuning this and bringing it up to where they want it to be for this version 15.
Yeah, yeah,
And I suspect that as we get to version 15.1, which we might be at
yeah.
already, I saw there was an update this past week.
Oh, this point. Is there an
15.1,
update? What is
15.5.
it now?
I think we're going to start to see Apple, or the team behind Pages, Numbers, and Keynote
Ah,
start to fine tune some of the things and bring it a little
yes,
bit more up to speed, much like they did with Final Cut when Final Cut Pro 10 was released all
absolutely.
those years ago.
Yeah. I
So
just updated, mine says 15.1.1 now.
there you go. Yeah. So that is that. Now, Pixelmator Pro. So it's interesting
Mm.
that you mentioned two different paths that Apple took, and I kind of see it as three different paths. With Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, they did this weird, let's release version 15 alongside 14.5. They're really not much different. You can upgrade to one, um, and we're going to warn you every time that you launch the old one that while we allowed it to remain on your computer, you shouldn't be using it. So I don't know why we left it there in the first place. There's that approach, and then there's the approach that you mentioned with Pixelmator, where really it's two different versions. You
Yes,
have the paid version, which is in the version 3, and then the subscription version, which is version 4.
yes. And I can't use the new version, of course, unless I subscribe to the uh, um, take advantage of the subscription. But there's not much else in those packages that I would be wanting. So I wouldn't do that just for Pixelmator. So it's a
Right.
bit of a it makes things slightly difficult on the Pixelmator front. Um, there's other things I would be interested in, but not just for that. So all the apps. I think that the switch over from pro apps and the subscription works quite well for the pro apps. Um, Not so much for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. They could have been left out. I think. But they would have needed have done something very spectacularly clever with a separate templates pack for then integrated back into the original Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. But I think that where it comes unstuck is with Pixelmator Pro. It means that in order to carry on using Pixelmator Pro, I have to not use the new one and stick with the old one. Whereas it's the opposite for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, because I can quite happily replace the old ones with the new ones for the iWork suite, but I can't do that with Pixelmator Pro. So it has become a little bit confusing about which way to go. I wouldn't pay the subscription just for the Pixelmator side of things.
Well, and then you have the pro apps approach where they're effectively the same app, but there's two side by side. They're the same versioning even, and one is the subscription and one is the standalone. And I think
Yeah,
part of
but in
that,
that case, though, the subscription version and the buy outright version, they both stay in lockstep with features as they will both be upgraded over time. Whereas that's not the case with Pixelmator Pro. So again,
right,
there's confusion with that.
right. And so I was actually kind of wondering myself if they're not going to eventually do the same thing with Pixelmator Pro and bring the standalone version up, which they do still advertise. If you go to their site, they still advertise that you can buy the standalone version if they
Yeah,
won't be bringing it up to the same level as the subscription version.
It would be good to clarify that. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that has confused me as well. So my particular beef isn't necessarily with the whole approach. So it's a great approach for pro level apps. I'm not entirely convinced that bringing in the iWork suite into this was a good idea in the first place. But
Right.
it's where Pixelmator Pro comes in that really throws a spanner in the works for anyone who is an existing user of Pixelmator Pro and they want to carry on with using it and updating it in the future. It gets a bit confusing. Like, if that's your preferred graphics app, it's like, oh, what do I do now? That's a bit tricky.
Yeah, Pixelmator Pro definitely deserves to be in the suite. I agree with you. I don't think Pages, Numbers, and Keynote belong in there at all. Certainly not with the approach that Apple is taking. Other than what I was going to mention in just a few moments, and that is that I feel the biggest issue is Apple's decision that it would be a good idea, and as we said, not confusing at all, to have two versions of every app in the App Store. Uh, and I kind of question who at Apple thought that was a smart move. So, really, I think the decision to do that comes down to perhaps intentionally. No, I shouldn't say that. That's laying blame where
Oh
I
dear.
don't have proof of blame needing to be laid, but um, it may be a move designed to sow a bit of confusion among users to make them
No,
think
no.
that they have
Uh,
to get the subscription, even if all they want to use are the iWork apps. In other words, a new Mac user, what is Apple going to load on that new Mac? They have previously loaded 14.5, but now they say, no, no, you have to use 15. So they're going
yeah,
to
the new
preload the 15
yeah, that's
apps.
it. They're going to preload 15. Yeah, that's it.
So
I think.
now someone playing with the apps who's used to the idea of a subscription for an office suite is going to muck about in there, stumble across the subscription and say, "Oh, well, okay, Microsoft Office was $120 a year. I guess that's fair. I want Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. I'll pay $129 for that a year or $12.99 a month or whatever it is." And I have to wonder somewhere deep down inside my tinfoil hat covered brain if this isn't a move to try to
Uh,
eke out a few more subscriptions that they might not otherwise get because people are thinking that they have to.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have said that that was intentional. Um, if
Well,
it
then it
does
was
seem that
dumb.
way, and
If it wasn't intentional, it was dumb.
well, that's the other angle as well. I mean, if there weren't two apps and two different approaches giving quite a bit of flexibility there, then we'd be complaining about the other option where the new stuff took over from the old stuff and people were forced down the road of either subscription or not. So I think if there weren't two apps, we'd be complaining about that. But now there are two apps, we're complaining about that too.
So are you saying we just like to complain? No, are you saying that I just
Well,
like to complain? I do like to
not at all,
complain.
no. Oh, not at all. The thought didn't cross my mind.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's break it down a little bit because I agree with you. If you are new to Apple's pro level creative apps over the course of 5 years, and I'm just picking that number randomly, it's a number I've used for my own purposes in the past. Over the course of 5 years, if not a little bit longer, this is an absolutely great way to get all of the apps without breaking the bank. You're talking
Mm,
$129 a year, not that $674 outlay up front.
yeah.
Not even the $200 outlay up front that you would get with the educational pricing when buying a new Mac. This is $129 or $30 for educational, which is an even better deal. Uh, and over the course of 5 years, a fantastic way to do it. And you're staying up to date and you're getting the latest and greatest out of Apple, and it's going to run phenomenally well on your Mac. It's a good way to go. Absolutely good way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're an existing user, however, it begins to get a lot sketchier. If Final Cut Pro and its supporting apps will continue to receive enhancements, which is what Apple is promising,
Yep, I believe so.
then what incentive is there to switch to this subscription? Very, very
Well, you don't have
little
to. Exactly, yeah.
from my perspective. And while I do use Final Cut Pro, I don't use Logic. I do use Motion and occasionally use Compressor. I'm not a heavy user. If you remember, people used to say this about Word and Excel. They said it about Photoshop. You can say it about Final Cut and Compressor and Motion. I use maybe 10 to 20% at most of the features in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
app. I am not,
There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Yeah.
yeah, oh, tons of interesting stuff. And I would not in any way, shape, or form even remotely begin to compare myself to someone who uses this stuff professionally in the motion picture and television industry. I wouldn't even compare myself to an amateur filmmaker who uses it on a much, much heavier basis than I am. I use it very lightly.
Hmm.
So there's little to no incentive for me to get the subscription. Now, what if, like me, you don't own all the apps? For example, I don't own Logic Pro, but I've considered getting Logic Pro. There's a lot of really cool features in Logic Pro, and I keep thinking maybe I should get Logic Pro instead of continuing to use Audacity. Although I do like Audacity, but maybe I should get Logic Pro and give it a go. Well, it's still, since I already own the other apps, it's still a better move, in my opinion, to purchase outright. Logic Pro is $199 versus
Yeah.
$129 a year. I already own the others. And again, in the educational realm, $30 a year ain't a bad deal at all. But do keep in mind that the Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro suite is only $200 through Apple's Education Store when you buy it with a new Mac. Now,
Yep.
what about all the AI enhancements and templates? Um, Third party options are a fantastic way to go. Uh, Sorry, I just noticed I was peaking a little bit there. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Um, Third
I did
party
see a YouTube
options.
video actually that showed off usage for AI abilities in there, and also the enhanced templates, because the templates link in with the AI side of things as
Yeah.
well. And they were particularly impressed actually because they had previously purchased a quite expensive template pack for use with Adobe products previously and so on, and they were going down the road of investigating this, and coming to the conclusion that the AI abilities combined with the template packs now available as part of the Creative Studio suite, because that's the thing. This is all part of the suite.
Hmm.
Whereas with the Adobe side of products, you often find you have to go out and buy your own template packs and so on. If you want specific stuff, especially for if you're big into doing social media spreads and so on, and you need to convert them from one media type to another, and that sort of thing is handled really well in the new Creative Studio. So there are benefits to going down that road, but this is only specific to a very small number of people that, say, for instance, are heavy creators. They would probably find this very, very interesting, the sort of possibilities of what you can do with these template packs.
I do agree with you. And I'm going to take a slightly different path because, from the standpoint of someone who already owns Final Cut Pro, who already owns Motion and Compressor, I feel that rather than subscribe, and there's a very, very good reason for this, rather than subscribe, that third party extensions might be the way to go. In other words, rather than going with what Apple is now offering as part of the subscription, start looking at the rich ecosystem of extensions that are out there already for Final Cut that have built up through years and years and years.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's got a good pedigree
and
already of.
you may find that those serve you better. And this is kind of the important part of it. help your content not look like everyone else's. When everyone is using the same templates and everyone is using the same tools, everything starts to look the same. And when you either create your own from scratch or you use third party tools,
Ah,
you can start to differentiate your stuff from others. And I'm not talking to
yeah.
Canva at all when I say that. You can tell when
The
something was
demo
generated in Canva. You can just tell. You can tell when
yeah.
something was
Uh,
generated by AI. And if you
on
take a
that
moment,
note, on that note, that the thing I saw, the demo I saw, used a standard template, but the templates were constructed in a very impressive way. They had nine separate 3D layers to them in this
mhm,
one particular template, so you could change the way the shadow lighting was lit from this. It was like the demo was a book cover, so the person who was creating this, a customized version from the template, replaced the book with a graphic from their own book, changed the coloring to match the book, and then changed the shadow level and the focus and so on, and they got something unique within a few seconds. So I can see it could be a big time saver, and also something that nobody else would be able to replicate exactly without going through exactly the same motions, and they would likely pick some other choices. So I think there's good scope there for having a lot of individual, unique work created there, even though you're starting off with a template.
is it unique though? If
Yeah, yes
everyone
and
is
no.
using the same book template, don't you think we're going to be able to start to tell that that was created with that book template, even though the cover is different, even though the
Maybe,
shadowing is different,
maybe,
even though. So my point is, there are other tools and extensions out there to do that
yes,
exact same thing right now.
yeah,
So
that's true.
as someone who owns it, I would go that approach. If you don't own them, I think the subscription is a great way to go. And then, of course, there's folks like you, the iPad users, who want to use Final Cut Pro, who want to use Pixelmator Pro, who want to use Logic Pro and similar apps on their tablets. Well, you have no choice. It's $129 a year or nothing. So, from
Absolutely.
that perspective, Apple made a smart move. So let's go to Eric's comments on this. He did share his comments with us before we started recording. Uh, he knew what we were going to be talking about today, and he wrote, "My 2 cents on the creator studio topic. I actually think it's good," he says. "Apple almost from the beginning said they would eventually do a subscription. I'm not sure why they had to include iWork, though. Bingo."
There you go.
He continues, "I know some people have said this is Apple challenging Adobe's Creative Cloud, but they have ways to go for that. Obviously, Final Cut Pro, Logic, and Motion are all great. My hope is that with a subscription, Apple will put more work into making Final Cut Pro and Motion better." Now, before I continue with Eric's thoughts, Eric is someone who uses these applications on a professional level. He
Fabulous.
is one of those people I was talking about who knows far more than that 10 to 15% of the suite that I know. And whenever I get stuck, I turn to Eric and I say, "How do I do this?" And he's like, "Oh, binga, banga, bungo." And he's all done. And I'm like, "What the heck just happened?" And my
What
head is
did you just
spinning.
do?
And yeah. So he knows this stuff really, really well. So
Fabulous.
he
Yeah.
would like to see Apple put more work into making Final Cut Pro and Motion better. He loves the apps, he says, don't get me wrong, but with the exception of this last year, they haven't been keeping pace. And I know that there are defections to resolve, which is something I mentioned in our emails trading back and forth. That
Absolutely.
is a
Yes.
tool that a lot of professional filmmakers are turning to, which is from Blackmagic, and it's the DaVinci. Is it Resolve?
Yes.
DaVinci
Just
Resolve, yeah.
DaVinci Resolve.
A lot
The
of
one thing you have to
professional
worry.
filmmakers are turning to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not not necessarily true on the Mac version, I believe, but especially on the version that you run on Linux, it can be a bit tricky with DaVinci Resolve. Or actually, no, it is true of the Mac version as well, because one of the things that the free version doesn't let you do is export all video codecs and have all the video codec support, which of course Final
Mm,
Cut does have full support for. So it's pretty much the same cost. So if you want the full supported version of DaVinci Resolve to give you all the export options, then you do have to stump up and pay for it, and it's around $300 or so. So
that's true.
it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's true. And again, for professional filmmakers, well worth it. And let's mention one more. No, let's wrap up Eric's thoughts here, and then we'll mention one more thing about subscription
Okay.
versus outright purchase. Um,
Yeah.
he wrote, "I love the apps. Don't get me wrong. They haven't been keeping pace, and I know there are defections to resolve." Then he concludes, "I think keeping the two versions for each app around is stupid. I just don't get it." Okay, so on that note, Eric is definitely on the same plane with us. So one thing about subscriptions versus outright purchase, and it's probably, look, I'm not a tax guy. This is not my area of expertise. But one thing about subscriptions is it
Oh,
is a continual write-off. If you are
yes.
a business owner, um, it's an expense that you are incurring at that business, and it's a direct write-off versus something that you might, and for $600 you probably don't have to amortize that, but something that you might have to amortize the purchase of over a course of a few years. uh,
Mm.
and even if you can directly write off the full purchase of the studio suite, there is a little benefit to having that additional write-off on an ongoing basis, especially if you have multiple workstations within your workplace. And
Yes.
that's always been an argument for Adobe's Creative Suite. It's always been an argument for Microsoft Office. It's something that's you can um, directly take care of in your annual tax filings. And again, not a tax
That's a good point.
expert.
I
Correct me
didn't
when
think
I'm
about the
wrong,
tax side of things, but yeah,
but
yeah.
from a tax perspective, I believe it's as a business owner, it's a little
Good
bit
point.
more direct write off when you are renting the software versus
Yeah,
purchasing it.
it's an ongoing cost. Yeah.
It's an ongoing cost. There you go. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up the Creator Studio? I always get the name wrong. I keep wanting to say Creative Suite.
Yeah,
The
what is it
the
called?
the Creator Studio Suite, Creator Studio topic. Anything else you want to wrap up on
Apple
before
Creator Studio, indeed,
Apple
yes.
Creator Studio?
Uh,
There you go. Anything else
there's the
you
name.
want to mention before we wrap up on the Apple Creator Studio topic?
No, no, not at all. I think if we went any further, we'd probably be guilty of introducing some more confusion ourselves, I should imagine.
Which is not hard to do in my case. Well, what do you think about Apple's new Creator Studio Suite? Is it for you, or will you stick to the standalone? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments of this week's show notes found at formacisonly.com. Well, I promised, I think it was last episode, Darren, I promised that I would start doing some For Mac Eyes Only quick tips. That was going to be one of my resolutions
Oh,
for the new year. And I would like to start with this episode. And the quick tip is actually something that came up from an email conversation that we had back and forth. And it was a little teasing email conversation. We were talking about the scheduling of For Mac Eyes Only, where we schedule
oh
it
yes, of
on
course.
we schedule it on the second and fourth Saturday, which means that every once in a while, when the month goes a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, there's a 2 week gap in between the episodes, like there was this time. And the trick to scheduling something like that is you can't do it directly in Apple Calendar. You can't
As
go
I found
in,
out.
you cannot go in and schedule an event to occur on the second and fourth Saturday of the month. But there is a hack to work around it, and it's what I do to keep For Mac as Only scheduled in my Apple Calendar. And the hack is when you are scheduling your event, Now, there is a way to go in and say, I would like to schedule this event so that it occurs on the second Saturday of the month. That's very easy to do. When you are scheduling your calendar and you generate you tell it you want it to repeat. Let me pull this up here real quick so I get where is it? Where is my calendar window?
It's on one of your
Gosh
monitors
darn it.
somewhere.
It's on one of my monitors.
One of your
Where is
six
it?
monitors. Yeah.
It's not showing up. I'm clicking get info and it's not popping up. That's weird. Okay, well, I'll do it this way. Okay, here we go. When you are scheduling an event, you can schedule the event to repeat on, for example, the second Saturday of every month. That's easy to do. As you schedule the event, under repeat, choose custom. And then when you choose custom, you have the opportunity to not select the days you want it to repeat on, but you click the little icon that says on the, and then you can choose second Saturday. Great. And then the frequency for that would be monthly. So on a monthly basis, on the second Saturday, we're going to record for Mac Eyes Only. Wonderful. But there isn't an option to add, like sometimes you can click a little plus and add a second recurring event. In this case, there isn't an option to add a second recurrence for this calendar event. So the hack is to right-click the event, choose duplicate, edit the duplicate,
and then
change the start date to the fourth Saturday of the month, and then under custom, modify it from second Saturday to fourth Saturday. And that's the hack. So instead of one event that's scheduled for the second and fourth Saturday of the month, you have two events, one scheduled for the second Saturday, one scheduled for the fourth Saturday. Set them on repeat. And in my case, I actually, here's another little tip. I set an end date. If you don't set an end date, what happens is it just keeps repeating this event forever on your calendar. You can go 30 years in the future and you'll see it repeated on the calendar. So I set an end date every year for December 31st of that year. And then when December 31st comes along, I reschedule it. I extend the end date for just another year. That way I don't end up with this calendar event repeating forever ad infinitum. It's just the one time and that's it. And that's how I do it. So it's not one,
of course,
it's two.
FMEO as a show is going to carry on forever for at least another 30 years.
Sure. At least another 30 years.
Sorry.
I'll have to set up a succession plan then, Darren. That's what we're going to have to do there. I don't know who.
So yes, good tip. I definitely needed that tip because I have on occasion, I think actually on 3 occasions, I've turned up on the wrong day or I've done something terribly wrong, and also I have something similar happening, or did have something similar happening with the time and time zones that also caused me to come in an hour late one day, I believe.
Well, and you can, of course, select a time zone. If you turn on time zone support in your Apple Calendar, you can also select what time zone the event is going to occur. So in your case, you could select it to start at 1 p.m. Central Time, and then you will get the alert at, what is your time? UK time or GMT? What do you go by?
Same thing.
Well, it is same thing, but it's sometimes referred
GMT,
to separately. Yeah, GMT. So you could set it to go off at 1 p.m. Central Time. As long as you have time zone support turned on, you'll get the alert at the appropriate time.
Yes, I must look at that. So yeah, the mistake I made was to try to do this all in one event, and that's where it all goes horribly wrong.
And that's the tip. So or I should say, it's not a tip; it's a hack. And the hack is to duplicate the event and then change the details of the recurrence. And then you have it on your calendar twice, like it should be.
I'm going to do that right after this show. Perfect.
And then, Darren, that brings us up to our essential app. And I know you said you didn't have an essential app this episode, but I have one that I just came across this last week that I am eager to really give a try. Now, I'll admit I have not given this much of a run through yet, and I'm kind of hoping that you will, Darren, because I think once I tell
Oh,
you
okay.
about this app, you are the type of person who's absolutely going to want to give this a try.
Wow.
Now,
Am I the
just
target audience?
you are clearly the target audience, or I believe you're going to be the target audience. You tell me.
Fabulous.
Now, despite the name of this app, it is not related to Itsycal. We've talked about Itsycal before, which is a nice little menu
Yeah.
bar calendar that sits up there and just reads your Apple Calendar and shows you what events are coming up, which is great. I love Itsycal. This app is called Itsytv. Now, as far as I can tell, it is not from the same developer, but this is called Itsytv, and it is the missing Apple TV remote app for your Mac.
Oh, wow,
So,
that's different.
what you can do is download the app. It's completely free. It's available on GitHub, but they have a really nice website, which is at itsytv.app. And with this app, you can not only control playback, you can launch the various apps, you can see what's playing, all from your Mac OS menu bar, which is amazing. So, some of the features that are included in this, as I said, it's native Mac OS. It's got that same
Oh,
remote UI like you get if you have the actual remote in your hands. It is multi-device, so you can pair it with multiple Apple TVs. So if you have more than one Apple TV, you can use this with all of them. Of course, you can do text input because it is on your Mac. It does have an app launcher in it where it shows you a nice little grid of all the apps you have installed on your Apple TV, which is super cool. To make you happy, Darren, it's secure, it's end
mhm.
to end encrypted communication with your TV.
Of course.
You can navigate the app with your keyboard. It shows you what's currently playing. And best of all, that makes Mike happy, it's free and open source. So if you are interested in controlling your Apple TVs from your Mac, and we don't have a way to do that otherwise, if you're interested in controlling your Apple TVs from your Mac, you might want to give Itsytv a try. And again, you can find it
Oh,
at itsytv.app. And I can see that Darren is
yeah.
already downloading and installing it, and he's going to tell us just how well it
Well,
works with all the Apple
I
TVs in
am
his
looking
home.
at the website at the moment, and it does. The user interface is really nicely designed. Actually, it does look
Isn't it?
spectacularly good. It looks
It
really, really good.
looks
Yeah.
really good. And as you can see, when you click on the menu bar icon, it'll show you your various Apple TVs. In the On the website, they're showing it kitchen TV, living room TV, office TV. There is a pairing process. You do have to pair it with the different Apple TVs. But what I really like about it, and I kind of wish the actual Apple TV remote had this, is the little slider to show you the apps you have installed on your Apple TV. So you can just slide over to apps and just
Nice.
touch the button for Netflix or touch the button for Spotify or touch the button for YouTube and immediately jump right into it. What a fantastic idea. Why the heck is this not native to the Mac? And yet, here it is.
Ah, yeah.
Itsytv.app, completely free at, itsytv.app or GitHub. So there you go.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That
That
looks very interesting.
is that is this week's essential app, Darren. Now you know that next episode, you have to do an essential app.
I'll definitely have to get one. Yeah. Yeah. You'll have to remind me again to say definitely come up with an essential app this for next time. No
There you
worries.
go. There you go. And with that said, that is going to do it for this episode of For Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters. So if you have any comments about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, be sure to leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes found at formacguysonly.com, at formacguysonly.com, or drop me a line, Mike at formacguysonly.com. And be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV and click that little notification bell so you can find out when we are going live. You can join the chat room and catch all the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Hey, Darren, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Well, if an email is sent to darren@formacosonly.com, it will wend its merry way to my inbox.
Indeed. Indeed. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Darren for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. All right, and with that said, I think we are going to call it a live stream. So I'm going to say goodbye to the live stream. Goodbye, live stream. Goodbye, Brian. Thanks for joining us this episode. And we'll see you guys. Next episode, I should probably mention that right now. I'm going to click on Itsycal, one of my other favorite essential apps. I'm going to click on Itsycal, and our next episode will be on February 28th. February 28th.
February 28th.
At 1 p.m. Right. So that's when we will see you guys next. Bye, everyone.
Perfect. Cheers.
I'll be right back, Darren.
Yeah.
Okay, that test did not work. So now I'm going to click finish.